Hello, welcome to another weekly video. Today my topic is going to be why did I get married? I don't know if you've ever seen that movie called Why Did I Get Married by Tyler Perry. Um, I feel like it's a really good representation of the feelings I think some people feel when they're married. I've heard a lot of different stories about people and what they've gone through in their marriage um and it's it kind of just lets you know that marriage just isn't what a lot of people may think it is. Now, you know, there are all kinds of examples around us. We have our parents and we have television, although, I would never say you can go by those things, but I think because there's just so many different examples of marriage, it can be confusing. When I was growing up, my mother was married to my father for 20 years, and they got divorced when I was about 8 years old. And their marriage looked a certain way. I would say, it gave me an example of what one type of marriage may be. Um, and that would be, there was a lot of, well, I don't know if I'd say a lot of fighting. There was fighting. I don't remember a whole lot of like communication, but I do think there are things that children may not see with their parents, as far as how they resolve things. But I remember some things getting pretty escalated. My mother threw a chair at my father one time. I remember raised voices many, many times. I remember, I think almost every time my mother was mad at my father for what he was doing, which he had a drug problem, so he would be gone for some days and then come back and um, she seemed like she was always mad at him about something. Um, but so they got divorced and she married my stepfather and again that was a totally different example of a marriage. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't much different as far as like I remember my mother was always upset and my stepfather always seemed to be attacking him, things like that. I don't remember him getting upset the same way at her, but like he had this way of kind of taking out um his feelings. I guess I'd just say passive aggressively, things like that. So I mean, those are just the the biggest examples I had of a marriage. I went to different friends' houses. Um, and excuse me. A lot of times it was worse than what I was seeing at my own home. Um, well, actually, let me add on a little bit to um, my mother and my stepfather seemed to have kind of like a more business type relationship where they, um, I mean, my mother had gone without so long when she was married to my dad that she seemed to just marry my stepdad for money. And I'm not trying to say that to look down on her or anything like that. I totally understand where she was coming from. Um, but I just didn't see the same kind of love that I saw with her and my dad. There was a love despite all the fighting. They seemed to just have a chemistry that I never saw with her and my stepdad. But anyway, I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about my friends. My friends had some um, well, their parents, a lot of them were together, but they had some bad examples, I guess. I mean, I didn't know that in the moment, but um, they they had some where their mother and father didn't really speak to each other, seemed to be in separate bedrooms, things like that. Um, I knew one where his father and mother would constantly um, do things to each other that were, to me, I would call acts of revenge. You know, if um, if the mother did something to the father would, for example, cut her favorite house plant apart, or um, I'm not sure what the mother was doing to the father, but that's just one example I knew of, and I had seen them kind of have little fights, I guess, around me. But anyway, um, despite all that, I just I don't know where I got the idea that like I could have a marriage that would be different. I don't know if anybody goes through that. Like, I never thought that my marriage would look anything like the examples that I had. And I mean, I don't want to say it came from movies or anything. I think I just thought like, well, I'm not like that. I want something better, so I can, I have control over my life, so I can achieve that. Um, I knew that I wanted to be with somebody that um I loved, and I wanted to probably have a situation where um I guess we just never raised our voice at each other. We didn't have, I guess, what you call fights, escalation, nothing like that. I did expect to, have issues, but nothing nothing that couldn't be talked over in a few minutes, stuff like that. Um, but that's why I go into, you know, these expectations that we come into marriage with. They seem to really do a lot of harm. You know, for years it really hasn't met my expectations, and maybe one day it will. But I ask myself all the time, why did I get married? Because I didn't sign up for this, and I feel like a lot of people feel that kind of way. Like, you have your own expectations and you think it's going to look a certain way. I mean, depending on if you've lived with your spouse or not, you may not feel like um, it's going to change, or the person changes, or even you change. I mean, there's so many factors that go into it. That's why I recommend that movie. It kind of shows people after being married for a while, and they're just running into things they didn't expect. And um I think that that's what we all run into. I've talked to people that they say they have arguments or conflicts. um I talked to a guy that was married for 20 years, and he said he's had conflicts with his wife the entire time. um and I've been married for almost 7 years, and we've had conflicts um about one or two every week. And that's not how I want it to be, but you know people bring in baggage from their past, and I think we don't ever expect things like that. I mean, nobody wants to wake up and think that they're gonna have a marriage that doesn't look the way they want it to look. So um I guess that's really what I'm trying to help people with. Just, it's normal to ask yourself, why did you get married? I mean, there's things called the 7-year itch. Technically, I don't know what that is, but I kind of assumed that like everybody comes to like a crossroads where it's like, well, are you going to continue or not with the new information that you have? I mean, if it doesn't meet your expectations and the timeline that you want, are you gonna give up? Or, I mean, like, what are you gonna do? And I don't know if everybody goes through that. Um I've seen, now I don't know technically what it looked like at home, but I remember my aunt and uncle, they they had what I would call like a better marriage. They seemed to get along great, and all these things. And again, I wasn't there, But I just remember hearing that like they didn't actually run into any like arguments or things like that till she hit menopause. Now, maybe that's more of a previous generation thing, but um, when she hit menopause, I was actually there. Um, I think we visited, well, me and my dad and his girlfriend, we all had a vacation house together with my aunt, uncle. They were there, and I saw them get into a huge fight while we were there, and you know, it. Um, I think my dad was telling me that um, they had never really had any problems or anything like that until she had hit menopause, and they were arguing like this regularly. And I remember him saying that, she was asking for help on how to deal with her hormones and things like that. So, I mean, everybody looks different. I feel like everybody runs into something in their marriage. I heard another example one time that we were getting counseling from somebody, and he admitted that he had cheated on his wife, and they were still together, and they had gotten through it. But I've heard many examples of cheating, and that's why I say, like, a lot of people struggle in their marriage, and I don't think that anybody, when you run into a problem, you're expecting it, so you kind of just feel like you don't know basically why you got married. Why did I sign up for this? I um some people, they feel like they were happier before, and nobody signs up for misery. But um I guess I'm just trying to give you some support if you are struggling in your marriage, trying to help you realize that you're not alone. I mean, I've just heard so many times people struggling in their marriage, and I think it's a regular thing now. But I don't want anybody to give up hope. I think if you put in effort and you're willing to change and continue trying, things can get better, and it could get to a place where you want it to be. I remember when we were getting counseling, um, there was a pastor that had said to us, um, "Is your marriage what you expected or think where you want it to be?" And we were both like, "No." And he was like, "But it can be." I remember him saying that it can be what you expect one day, even if it wasn't um, when you started out. So I do think that there's hope in that. If you don't give up, sometimes you do need help from outside sources. I mean, there's been times I've been in a conflict and I don't know what to do, and I have literally had to look up conflict resolution examples to try to figure out what to say. And I know that may sound strange because, like, you're probably just like, well, just say you're sorry. I mean, it's not always that simple. But um, anyway, I'll probably talk about more with the conflict stuff another time. I don't want to go on too long, but I appreciate you watching today, and I hope this gives you some hope for the future, and just hang in there, and have a good rest of the day.